Good afternoon and welcome to the No Code Lab event, the second event that we've run this year. Today we are really lucky to have some real no-code heroes in the room today. And I'm not just talking about people who are running no-code platforms, but we're talking about the heroes that are creating insight and creating really interesting things from no-code platforms themselves. So I'm just going to share my screen and do a little bit of an introduction. So welcome to No Code Lab. If you don't know us, if you haven't heard of us, our mantra is cracking the code of change. So how are we cracking the code of change? We're doing this by making a difference. No Code Lab, we really want to empower tech curators. We want to solve some of the biggest problems that we face in society. We're looking really at tech for good. We want to spin up MVPs at rapid rates, disrupt industries with new thinking, and build solutions that are unapologetically no code. The impact that we are trying to make includes thinking about the people that aren't able to code. Anyone can have an idea, but only 0.9% of the population in the UK have the ability to code. So how can we create an impact? We're looking to entrench leading and inspiring in areas of innovation. We're looking to bring more investment opportunities to people who don't know how to code. We're looking to create accelerated solutions to community-led issues and work with local authorities, national policymakers to create a change in access to data and digital through the democratization of the digital economy. We have an unbelievable agenda today. We can't actually believe how excited we are for this. We're going to have a bit of an introduction to a platform called Ninox, and that's through Morris, who's the head of strategic partnerships, who's going to give you an introduction to that platform. He's then going to go into a bit of an interview with Kave, who we have on the call today. And that's also going to include Niels, who's also on the call, where he's going to go into a bit of the how you can build an MVP using no code. Finally, we've got an interview with Simone. Simone works as the project manager at UCL, so she works within the NHS. We have an amazing case study here of how she's built an app from scratch using no code on the Ninox platform. We're finally going to finish off with a panel discussion featuring all of the speakers that we have today. You can come to nocodelab.co.uk, follow us on social if you want to hear a little bit more about us. I'm going to stop sharing now and just give you a little bit of an intro. My name is Georgia Halston. I'm co-founder of No Code Lab. I also have on the call today is Sandra, my co-founder. Both of us are really excited to welcome all of our new, we hope, fans for No Code Lab. Everything that we do, the pure core of our ethos and our raison d'etre is to do with collaboration. If anyone wants to collaborate with us in the future, you've got an idea, you think that you're a no-code hero, you've got some insight, you've got something interesting, please get in touch with us. We're here to have conversations. We're here to start and create things together. So without further ado and anything else from me, I'm going to pass over to Morris, and he's going to navigate what is hopefully going to be probably one of the best no-code sessions that you've ever attended. So let me pass that over to you, Morris.
All right, I appreciate the introduction, and want to thank the team at No Code Lab for having us as an innovation partner. Thanks to the work from Sandra and Georgia to bring this event to life. My name is Morris Hewing. I'm the head of strategic partnerships at Ninox. I'm also a business consultant and a no-code evangelist for sure. So our team at Ninox is super excited to be a part of this program, to be innovation partners, because we are really just motivated to accelerate the no-code movement. We've been working on doing that through a number of initiatives over the past year, and we really believe that no-code platforms like Ninox, they're the key to a future that has more creators, more builders, and more people with access to solving problems through tech, which is definitely a good thing. So over the past year, we've sponsored lots of online events and an online conference series called the Second Digital Revolution. or 2DR. Actually, Nils, one of my colleagues who is joining us today, he's played a major role in getting that conference series off the ground. So we'll probably talk about it a little bit later. But let's jump into Ninox, what it is. I know that there's probably a lot of Ninox users joining, but also people who are just interested about the no-code space. Maybe you're looking to start a company, you're a founder, you're looking to develop a digital business model or an MVP, or maybe you're just someone within an organization who's looking to work more effectively using some of these no-code tools. So what Ninox is a no-code development platform for business apps, and really any kind of apps. So our platform enables users to build and deploy software applications to match their business processes. And all this is done without coding via intuitive drag and drop tools and business logic. So what that means essentially is that Ninox allows you to develop software applications in the same way generally that you interact with software applications on the web. You're dragging and dropping, using a lot of the same skills that you would use in spreadsheets. We know we have over 1 billion spreadsheet users globally. So it's using the skills and the tools that you already have in a way that is not intimidating and allows you to quickly build applications to push out to your team, to users, to use in any way that you want. So for our use cases with Ninox, they really span the gambit. So think about custom project management, CRM, ERP, invoicing, even electronic health records. Really anything that runs on a database, you can build it with Ninox, and you can build it faster and with greater flexibility than traditional applications. And I think it's important to kind of, because we're talking today about digital business models, to say anything that runs on a database. Almost all of the internet runs on a database. A lot of times we can feel a little bit intimidated, around tech and what things are. It's for the most part, the internet is things that are on a database that you're interacting with through some kind of API, some sort of way for you to get information, give information, and navigate through that. So Ninox as a platform, it lives in the cloud, and I mean, it really is the powerful collaboration tool for businesses who are looking to either move away from spreadsheets and accelerate their digital transformation, or develop a digital business model or MVP. A little bit more about me. I am not a technical person. My background is in investment banking and consulting. But that did mean that I used to absolutely live in spreadsheets and all the sort of frustration that comes along with that, with the data silos and multiple versions, lost work, crossing macros, all that really fun stuff. So I've been looking for better ways was looking for better ways to manage and analyze clients' data. When I found Ninox and met the founders there, Frank and Alex, who are just really brilliant, motivated guys. The value proposition for something like Ninox is really clear for me because I'm the kind of business user who's non-technical that the platform is designed for. And now I had used things like Squarespace and WordPress before that are so-called no-code platforms, so I hadn't even heard that term yet. But today, things have really accelerated in this no-code movement. I'm deep down the rabbit hole and working with founders to bring things to life every day with no-code, working with business professionals to transform the way that they work significantly, to eliminate all of these processes that drive us crazy and create errors and create so many issues. But No-Code Lab is obviously about building things with no code, bringing MVPs to life. And so I want to talk about how Ninox as a company fits into what we call the no-code stack. The no-code stack is basically the suite of tools that are available now for entrepreneurs like many of yourselves to build and solve problems with no code, without using code, right? Obviously, there's always code going on in the background, but for us to be able to harness the power of that code in a way that's meaningful for non-technical people. So things like website builders are part of the no-code stack. Integration engines, which we're gonna look at today as part of our demo, are part of the no-code stack. Form builders, where you can get information from users on your website and get it into a database like Ninox. That's part of the no-code stack. payment gateways that you can integrate with your website, chatbots, AI platforms. All of these things are now available to users using no code, and that's something that we're super excited about. But all of these elements, all of these things that you use to bring together, all of these things that make a tech-enabled business work, they require your users to manage data. They require you to manage data. And this is really where Ninox fits in at the center of that no-code stack. Ninox is a flexible, intuitive database platform that integrates with all of your other tools. We sit on a REST API. We work really closely with partners in Integromat and Zapier, and we can easily connect with any of your other applications. So that means that you can manage your customer data, your sales and inventory data, your content management, your accounting, your whole business, all in one place, right from Ninox. And then you can do that in a format that matches your business workflow because you designed it. It's not a matter of working your process around a software that's been pushed to you. You are designing the way that you want to work. So what we have planned for you today, we already got a bit of a rundown from it, but we're going to meet from some of our Ninox no-code heroes. Niels Henning from the 2DR team, he is certainly that. This guy is a no-code ninja. He works with founders and business professionals to assist with no-code creation and education. And as a part of our commitment to No Code Labs Innovation Partner Program, we've been working with Niels to assist the Berlin-based startup founder with her MVP. Kave is joining us from really from everywhere. Kave is a Berlin-based founder of Talent Diverse, of My Career Path. She started the Black in Tech Berlin group, the Women in Data group. She's one of the most powerful community builders that I've met around tech in Europe. So she's going to join to talk about her current initiatives, the project that she's developing on Ninox, which is an MVP for a professional network. So we're excited to see that. Also, we have Simone from the NHS joining us later to talk about the application that she's been working on. And I mean, Simone is she is a perfect example of a no-code hero. This is a healthcare professional who fell into the Ninox platform, started building on it, realized the power of it, and is now scaling up a project, to the rest of the organization. Without delay, I guess I want to get started. Can we bring in Kave and Niels? We're going to start with an interview with Kave. Let her tell us a little bit about herself, about the companies that she started, and the projects that she's working on now.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here. Like Maurice has mentioned, my name is Kave. I'm based in Berlin. I'm professionally a talent acquisition specialist. So I hire people a lot, people in tech. And so I can understand, the fear that most people have about technologies and these assumptions that, it's this massive black box that I can't get into for those who want to get into tech. And so when I heard about no code, I was like, what's that? So it was really interesting. And also in terms of my background, I'm also a founder at the same time. And one of the things I really struggle with is presenting this data of the work that I have been doing as a founder, so I can validate my ideas. And this struggle has really resulted or comes from the fact that I cannot really actually afford an engineer, like a developer who codes in, Java, React, you name them. And so because of that, everything that I have been doing has been pretty slow. Starting with My Career Path. My Career Path is a career coaching company. And basically what we do there is empower professionals to discover the work that they love and eventually really find professions that fits them. So actually now, My Career Path is built on WordPress. And it was built by a young lady who's in Canada. She was also a nurse, and she transitioned into web designing, web development. So I didn't have the word no code when I was working with her, but she built the whole thing that you can actually schedule, buy the course online, go through it, schedule meetings, everything. She's not a developer. She built the whole thing. And so my career path is going well. The next level to what I do, or what I've been trying to work on, is talent diverse. And the reason why I transitioned to talent diverse is I've built quite large communities in Berlin, and most of them are diverse communities. And the purpose of these communities is connect members to opportunities. Most of these opportunities are jobs and also professional networking spaces. Once again, we're this group, and because of not having enough capacity and enough resources, it's been really, really hard to find a developer who can actually contribute to building, you know, a website that can actually provide us with this space that is more about networking and sharing our opportunities or jobs. And so we've been quite a lot on Slack meetups and kind of events, and it ends there. And we get a lot of requests from companies. We want to hire diverse talent, and sounds like we want to know all the jobs that are there. And I'm like, I really have this struggle. My team has this struggle to bring everybody in one space so that they can connect with each other. And of course, there is that community value, but there's also this monetary value that is sitting there that we really cannot tap into unless we can demonstrate all the data and the facts about the needs that our community has or the employers have. So we've been stuck in between. And from last year, when we started talking about diversity a lot in Europe, I felt like, wow, this is the perfect time to kind of get something going. And so I was like, I'm going to invest some resources into Talent Diverse and Black in Tech Berlin and build something up. And so I outsourced some of the development work to two engineers. And since then, it's really been history in terms of delivery. We haven't been able to come up with an actual product because every single month there is a change and there is something that's not working and there is something that needs to be fixed. And in overall, I've been waiting for 9 months to just have a page where people can create profiles. The last stage we were at was you could create a profile, but it had a lot of bugs. In the end, you couldn't see your profile, you couldn't see a picture, and I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this project. And so as I was pitching to Maurice, who's like my business advisor, he was like, Kave, I think you need to look at this in another angle, try and figure out how maybe we can try and see how we can create a no-code, platform where, people can, it can be built very easily and can be done in a few days, and you will have all your members of community in one space. To be honest, I had a bit of doubt. I was like, okay, I'll try it. Since I've been working for 9 months with these other engineers, I really had no idea that anything of the same amount of work or what we wanted to see will take 1 week. But eventually it actually took us how many days? We started working like 4 days now. From basically that, around 4 days, we have something to work with. So I'm really impressed. And I really see a lot of value. I, as a founder, I have something to show actually to all the employers that have come to us. We have a waiting list that's nearing 100 companies, and we just don't have, the data of all our members that are actually, looking for work. We have it, but we don't have way to display it in a way that will be, productive from our side and from the employer side. So we've kind of been running things manually. But I'm happy we're here now.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction, Kave. And Niels, do you want to introduce yourself as well, since you'll play a big part of in this segment?
Yeah. Also, thanks for having me. Gabriel gave a great introduction. Always super flattering. I started with no code about a year ago. Started with Ninox. Actually, I don't have a technical background myself. I have a business background, but an interest in technology was always there. But kind of the barrier to really start coding is a big one, right? You gotta usually go to university and like take courses, and it's this whole thing where you really need to commit. So when I started with Ninox, I kind of or kind of jumped into doing some no-code work, helping out here and there with clients, and kind of quickly fell, I guess, into a consultant role where we're doing a ton of different projects. It's super fun. So we're doing kind of almost all the use cases that Maurice you presented or you talked about. So stuff like order management, stuff like CRMs for ERP systems, and also I think it's a really cool project with Simone. We're doing with Simone. So Simone is actually doing the actual development herself, but we kind of talk together and see, okay, what do we need to do exactly with the data? What do we need to do to scale this up in the future as well? So that's also one of my favorite projects. I'm super happy that we're going to talk about this today as well. And yeah, we are going to present an MVP today that we started working on really on, I think our first meeting was on Monday, where we just talked about kind of what do we want to see here? What do we want to display? And the real work, I think, began yesterday evening. We really kind of got the requirements down, said, okay, that's what we want to do. And we started doing it. So what you can see in a second was built in yesterday and today by me and Kofi, who can't be here today, but I want to give a big thanks to him. He built the landing page in Webflow, which I think looks really great. So the two of us.
Another great no-code tool.
Yeah, exactly. Webflow, another great no-code tool. So all of this is built with no-code tools. I'm going to give a brief overview what we used. Obviously, at the center of it is Ninox as our database where we store all the information. We gather this information via Typeforms, which Kave, I think you're going to show in a second, kind of how it looks to fill this out. So I, as a participant, can, or as somebody interested in finding a new role, can be entered into the system. Webflow is a website builder similar to Squarespace, for example, if some of you know that, or just other website builders. And this is basically used to create a landing page to display all the information. And Ninox basically is in the middle, taking data from from Typeforms, taking data from Webflow as well, and kind of making sure every tool gets the data it needs and everything in the background is working as we need it.
Awesome. So you guys want to jump first into how you built the back end with Ninox, or should we go first into a demonstration and then we can back into the details around how we built it?
Yeah, I think it would be great to have a quick look at or to have a demonstration of how it actually works for everyone to be again in the same boat and see what we built. And then, as you say, we can jump into the backend. I kind of show a little bit how we did it and which tools are behind what you see.
Awesome, great. So Kave, do you wanna do a sign up?
Yeah.
Who's shared,
do you wanna give me presenter?
I think you're share. We can see your screen.
You can see your screen right now, yeah. If you want to just get up your browser, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're just seeing your desktop right now.
Yeah. Now.
Okay. That works, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for everyone, the idea for Talent Diverse is that candidates who are looking for work now or possibly in the next 6 months or in the future will come on the platform, sign up, and create profiles. As you can see, we already have Maurice and Niels. These are just samples or testers that we've had already. But if you're a new candidate, then you'll go here. And ideally, what we want to get out of this is data on all the diverse talent that are there in Berlin or in Europe, and what are they doing in terms of profession, but also where they're located. This is because the requests that come from company ask for professionals in different categories, and also they like to know where the candidate is. You will, of course, see a lot more data into the profile. I'll do mine, then I'll open it so you can see. And all that information is really important for us to demonstrate to companies or employers that we actually do have diversity in Berlin, diversity in Germany, and we have a lot of people who are qualified to do a lot more work or work that you currently need as an employer. At the same time, I think we will evolve this as well to emphasize the networking part of the project, where if Morris wants to get in touch with Mills, then there could be a way in which they find each other if they're in the same region to start talking with each other. But for now, I'll add myself to the list. I'll just go here and create my profile. So I'll start there.
So what you can see is basically we use the standard Typeform that has some logic in it, but obviously for those of you who know Typeform, the logic in Typeform is also similar to Google Forms with drag and drop, where you can, for example, say, we will see this in a second. If, for example, you select yes or no for a specific answer, you jump to another question and so on. So obviously for the user at the end, we want them to only fill out the information that's relevant and not have kind of fields that they don't really need to see or to fill out. So here we are basically just collecting all different information for the profile.
Oh, this is too big. Wait, let me see.
You can just use any picture.
Really? Okay, let's see.
If you have a super high resolution picture. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. And Nils, like solutions like Typeform, there's a lot of these different sort of no-code solutions out there. Can you speak about why you prefer Typeform for something like this? Is it simplicity or just?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of simplicity, but you do have a lot of options with Typeform. So personally, I think first of all, kind of design and designing options of Typeforms are really great. So it really allows you to create something that looks and feels really professional. So obviously other solutions like Google Forms or I think Quick Forms, for example, exist as well. Personally, sometimes I have the feeling they don't feel as polished when you as a user go in and fill them out. But kind of from a technical perspective, it doesn't really matter. All of these form building tools usually have the needed features, so stuff like logic jumps, and obviously the ability to create different field types, like I want short text, or for a long description, obviously I want a longer text to be able to be entered. And what's also really great is obviously that Typeform has an Integromat integration, which Integromat is the tool that we use to kind of glue everything together. So obviously it's a very important part of tool selection for this project, whereas we obviously need to make sure that we can use Integromat to connect all the different applications.
And the connection to Ninox is pretty seamless with Typeform sales.
Yeah, it's actually a much smaller flow than you would expect. It's literally for those who know Integromat, you have like these little bubbles or modules, and it's literally 2 modules. So it's quite easy to do that. And also the connection the other way from Ninox to Webflow is not quite as simple, but also I would say fairly manageable. So yeah, in general, I think using tools like Integromat or Zapier, for that matter, really allows you to be really quick with stuff like this, especially if it's not a kind of specialized workflow, because this is kind of very straightforward. It's right. I have information in a form, and I'm going to put it into fields in a database. So for especially these types of things, which obviously using classical development can be a little bit of a hassle, or are quite a hassle actually. They are super quick and super easy to do.
I'll just click no for now for the sake
Yeah,
of a
That's
demo.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this I think shows, for example, an example of a logic jump, which, as I said already, is really easy to create and kind of allows you to, because we have the option to add up to 3 experiences in this form, but obviously we want to give people the option to also, maybe if they don't have the time at the moment, or they don't want to do it, or just they don't have 3 experiences yet, we don't want to exclude these people for obvious reasons.
And ideally, for the purpose of talent diverse, we're really interested in all this data. So the skills the person has, what job they're doing at the moment, and possibly what else they'll be looking for, so we can match them. Eventually, in the end, we could do matching by recommending jobs and also recommending profiles for certain jobs.
I think Morris and Kave know where I'm going with this. The most important point that I made also a lot in our calls is to really keep the complexity down, because our goal with an MVP is to showcase a proof of concept and not necessarily to have a complete and all-encompassing application. That is something that can be done, but obviously this does require a different time scale than just a couple hours if you really want to have all business processes in there. Even just communicating the information, right? What do you need? Which fields are important for this? What do you want to happen if somebody clicks here? What do you want to happen if they click here, but this is not filled out, and so on? Even that just would take more than the time that it took to create the whole solution here. So this is for everybody who's interested in using no codes, the kind of number one mantra I would give you is kind of think a little bit, just take 5 or 10 minutes, think about how you want to do this, and think, how can I do it in the most simple way possible? And these 5 or 10 minutes then at the end pay off with hours of shaved off time, because you can be so quick if you kind of do it simple, and if you do it in a, I would say, sensible way. What I also would tell anyone who is interested in kind of developing something like this is to still remember some of the, I would call them database or data principles, because even though obviously we're in the no-code realm and developing stuff is really easy and creating tables is really easy, you still have the data in there, and you still need to kind of be aware what the kind of where the data is and what's happening with the data. As at the end of the day, you still have a purpose, you still have something you want to do with that data. So really thinking about how do I want to use this data in the long run is something that can be really beneficial when expanding the solution. I think, Kave, this is something you already talked about a little bit, whereas this is obviously not the end goal. Here, we want matching functionality, we want to give companies the opportunity to enter their information, we want to maybe match companies with people as well, and stuff like that. So this is also some of a really big strength of using no code. You can get something really quick up, but you can still expand it, and you're really flexible in how you do things. So to give examples, for anyone who has worked with classical databases like Access databases, anyone who did that will know you build the whole database, you have to build like your forms, and you have to build your different kind of information extracting procedures. And then you want to change something in a database, and just everything else breaks down, right? Your forms don't work anymore because the fields are different, and all this crazy stuff. So this is really, I think, maybe from a business perspective, one of the biggest pros of using no code is that if I forgot a field or if my process changes, I just add a field and stuff keeps working, nothing breaks, everything's cool. If I need to change a field name, I can just change it, and I don't need to worry about, oh, do I have code here that has this field, or do I have a form that uses it that will break, or anything like that. So this is really takes away some of the annoying validation work and just does it automatically.
Exactly. When you say I, Niels, you really mean the person who is behind this event. It's not that they have to reach out to a developer. It's not that they need to bring in a team. If they see something that needs a change, they can just make that change.
Yes.
And I also would want to talk about sort of like transitioning, because we talk about using no-code tools to develop a minimum viable product, and once that's up and running, when you use Ninox as the backend database, how easy is it for it to take that data that you get gathered from this MVP and ultimately transition it into another, into a platform that you built yourself later down the road after you've validated your proof of concept?
So I think this is also a really, really cool point that you're touching on, where since Ninox is at its core a relational database, you can use it as a relational database. So you can put a front end on it. You have what's called a standard REST API. I think, Maurice, you already talked about it. It's kind of the standard way of tools on the internet communicating with each other. So obviously Ninox has one, Typeform has one, Webflow has one. All these tools, most 99% of the tools are really being used on the internet to do work, have a REST API. And you can even, you could, in theory, also go ahead and just code an API. So you can really, if you have a solution that's coded, you can use the standard REST API from Ninox and really, even with code, connect your no-code database to your kind of code front-end application, which obviously for scaling is something really nice, where you can kind of get started quickly and get the logic up and running. And then maybe down the line, you want a more sophisticated front end, you want a more sophisticated view of people interacting with your application, but you don't have to necessarily migrate all your data to another platform.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to hear from you, Neil. So building your MVP with Ninox as a backend, we always talk about, when does it make sense to use a no-code tool, and when does it not, and at what point do you hit a level of scalability where you have to transition. When you use Ninox as the backend database for your MVP, there will not really be a need to transition that data. Maybe you change the front end, maybe you change, some of the other things that are going around it. But using Ninox as the center of that stack, it can scale with you and be the thing that you use to scale up your company.
Yeah, so to carry on, the point I was making is that many companies use not only Ninox, but in general, obviously no-code tools like Ninox to scale the operations. Because even if you are a company with, in theory, deep pockets, it still doesn't really necessarily make sense to spend $50,000 or $100,000 on a custom coded application, just because my process is a little bit different. That will cost me like $5,000 to $10,000 each year to maintain. So I think this mindset is also kind of arriving within companies, as well as in the entrepreneurial scene, where I think no-code really has its roots, because it's just so obvious. If I build an MVP, if I'm an entrepreneur, there's no other option really than using no-code, at least not sensibly, in my opinion.
Thanks, Nils.
Awesome.
And I was
Thanks,
wondering if you could get in touch with Simone. Is she able to join, Maurice? I was just wondering if she was struggling getting in. I'm conscious that
let me check with Simone on the back end. She should be joining in a minute.
And Nils, I don't know if there's anything you can share with us of showing how this is built in But I'm just wondering if we can just swap screens to you whilst we're getting Simone in and just have a little bit of a look, because obviously we're sort of seeing a bit of a finished product here, but I'm just wondering how that looks when it's, so if we could just make Nils, so Kave, if you could just make Nils a presenter for me, if that's okay.
I've done that. It's okay.
Thanks, Nils. And then
Custom
while
texture?
Simone's joining, brilliant. And why don't you jump in, Nils, and just give us an idea of how somebody goes in and creates something like this, right?
Yes, very happily. So you should be able to see my screen. So right now I'm on the Webflow overview. Refreshing, we can really see a ton of people looked at the link, I guess, and sign up. That's great. That's great to see, and it's also great to see that for everyone. Right?
From the sign up.
Oh, amazing, amazing. That's perfect timing. So you can see more people getting in here. So today I would like to show you guys the Ninox end of things. So how this whole thing looks in Ninox, and I would take a brief look into Integromat and just show you how we kind of took the data from Ninox, or took data from Typeform to Ninox, and how we took the data from Ninox and transferred it to Webflow to ultimately be displayed here. So from a Ninox perspective, if we jump in, see this is basically our backend. It's very simple. We just have, in our case, one table with one record for each user profile. So we can see here, we basically have some Webflow fields and stuff, just some backend stuff, which doesn't really matter. Importantly here, we have one field for each entry in the Webflow form, right? So first and last name, the email, we have the profile photo with a link here, LinkedIn link, and so on, right? All the different fields. You can see you have the option to add a second and third experience here as well. So what's happening in the background, I'm going to jump to Integromat now, is if we basically look at our integration, as I was saying, it's quite small, from Typeforms to Ninox. What's happening here is basically this module here is just watching, it's kind of checking, hey, is there any new responses on my Typeform? Every minute it's checking, and once it's checked, it's just sending all the data over to the relevant fields. I'm gonna jump in just to show you. It's really quite simple to do something like this. So you can see here the fields are in here, and it's really, so we have this Ninox module, and we have all the available fields here, and we really just click from the answers. We can see a list of all answers here by each field, and we just click on the answer we want, right? So I want to fill in LinkedIn profile, so I clicked on LinkedIn profile, and that's basically the whole magic behind it. So that's
awesome. That's so easy, right? That's really easy. Yeah. Really easy.
I definitely think so too. It's a little bit surprising, I think, how easy it is. That's, I think, kind of touches on a point that Kave, you made also, where at the first many people are a little bit skeptical because people are telling them, yeah, you can do this in like 2 days, and you just need like almost no time. And first instinct is like, this can't be. It's like, why didn't I hear of this before? Why is not everybody doing this? It's like weird.
And you know what, Nils, we've got Simone here, who I know has had quite a tight timeline. So thank you so much, Simone, for joining us. And I'm sorry that it's been a bit of a rush for you. But look, we've got 10 minutes with you, and we would really love to hear from you and your story. If you've managed to catch your breath and you're okay too, it would be awesome to sort of hear your story as a sort of a non-developer building application. And if you could tell us your story, that would be fantastic. And in your own words, and please don't worry.
Okay, so no, I don't have any background in app development. I'm a nurse, and in terms of what kind of background you get as a nurse, the highest end you can get to is to be able to operate an Excel spreadsheet and know what a formula is. So that is, you know, if you're doing that, you are Bill Gates-esque, you know, you're kind of like really rocking everyone's world. So definitely not. Certainly never developed a database or anything like that. Sorry, my husband's cooking. I don't know how loud that is, but my office is in my kitchen. Thank you, COVID. So sorry if you can hear him crying there. So in terms of so I'm a nurse, as I said, and the only real experience I'd had before I started setting up a database was I was working with a company who was setting up a live stroke data capture tool on my ward, and so I kind of have experience with developers from that point of view, again, it was pretty crazy because one of the things I was talking to Morris about was that, and Niels as well, that, you know, I would want to add a drop-down box, and I'd have to wait for the next version, which would come out in 3 months' time, before they would actually allow me to put an extra drop-down box. And in that entire time, we'd be losing data because we'd realised that we didn't put the drop-down box in, so therefore we couldn't actually capture the data. And so we'd have to write it on a piece of paper or put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And so then I started running a research. I should say I'm a stroke nurse. So I was running a hyperacute stroke unit. And so that's where I was doing that. And then I was running a stroke team, and we were collecting outcome data on stroke patients. And when I started to do that, again, the only tools I had to kind of go to was an Excel spreadsheet. So I had 2 members of staff, and then within about 2 months, I had about 1 million Excel spreadsheets, all with the same people on, all with where the team had recorded different things, and it was a complete and utter disaster. So I started looking around, thinking, well, you know, obviously it can't work like this. And plus we were putting outcomes onto paper, which were going into a filing cabinet, knowing all the while that at one point, if I ever did find somebody, that I would have to then enter them. And just to let you know, by the time I did get a solution, we had 500 packs, and there were 20 pages each that we had to actually then put into the Ninox system, which was horrendous, but at the same time slightly joyful, because I knew that that was going to be the end of all of that kind of way of living. I found Ninox. I was looking around, talking to lots of people, found Ninox, and realised that I could kind of work out, without even speaking to anybody, how to use it. I started, I mean, I think one of the key things actually about Ninox that was really made the difference was that they have a support person that you can contact, who will talk you through things. So I think one of the things, if you're not from a digital background, is that I can't read what I need to do. I can't look in a manual and read it and work out how to develop something. I have to see it, and then I have to ask questions about it, and then I can do it. And then as soon as I see it and I express myself and the person expresses themselves, then I kind of was making progress. So I managed to start the work in October of 2019, I feel. And then I had a prototype by December, which I really didn't think I'd managed to do it. I mean, I have to say it was blood, sweat and tears, morning and night, but and sometimes I was calling Ninox 3 times a day, which they were very nice about. Niels probably knows that about me a little bit, but because if you kind of get stuck on something, and I now I can work things out, and I can, but if I get stuck, it really can sometimes be quite hard to kind of get that bit of clarity to kind of go forwards, and you do need to talk to somebody about it. And so that's been really amazing that I've been able to do that. Sorry, I'm slightly reading as well, things that I've written here, the questions that you were going to ask me. And now I have a database. I mean, I suppose that's the outcome of that. So And I actually I couldn't even believe it. Like when we actually had the prototype, I couldn't believe that we'd actually managed to do it. Now I am, so again, as I say, in the NHS where you're at, is that if you know how to use Excel, you're pretty much a high roller. Now I talk to people and talk about relational databases, and I literally see them, their eyes kind of get like, oh my God, like we can't talk about this. You know, stop. Can you just show me? And can you just do what I need you to do, and don't say any more, because I can't really quite deal with it. So, and for me, I think what that really does show you is how the gap that exists. There's a huge gap of knowledge between what's possible and what isn't possible. And one of the things that I would say about that is it's kind of slightly, I think, particularly in the NHS, very open to people coming and proposing to do things or give you an app or get this bit of information, that bit of information. How you can actually do something like that. We sign up to things, paying. I mean, just to let you know, the live data stroke tool that, by the way, never actually got launched because it became completely defunct in the time that it was being developed, cost £700,000, and no one ever used it. You know, and it was weeks. Sorry, not weeks. It was a year, 2 years of meetings and talking, developing. And now when I look at it, when I look back and I look at what they were actually doing, they were creating what I created myself, but not as good. And I mean, that just shows you how bad it actually is. You know, that so in the NHS particularly, I think there are huge problems, because one of the reasons why Ninox is a great solution for what I'm doing is because there's no unification. So there's many systems, many teams, lots of information, but no one place for that information to go, so that you can actually make sense. And just to put it into context, make sense in the way that if you had, say you had lots of 50-year-old people with high blood pressure, you know that you keep meeting these people and they're 50 and they've got high blood pressure, but you don't really know anymore. And so by having a database that allows you to aggregate your data, you can say, oh, look, we've actually got 250-year-olds in this area of London, and they've all got this and this. And so now I can actually see what I need to do as a healthcare professional to help them. And at the moment, we just don't have anything like that.
Simone, do you know what? I think you've done an incredible job on your feet in at a very short amount of time to explain very, very clearly to everybody just the challenge you faced and how you dealt with it. So honestly, thank you so much, because I think you covered everything we'd have probably asked you questions about. No, it was awesome. So thank you. And I'm conscious that we're sort of coming to the end of the time of this event, actually, which I think is probably something that if we can continue,
we do have until 6.
Do we have until 6? Good.
We can keep running.
If
good. Well, that's just me then. So apologies. So good. So should we move into a sort of a Q&A session? Would that be okay for everyone? And is it okay to open up the chat for everybody that's currently on, so that if people can ask questions, we can see them? So there should be an opportunity for people to put questions in their question box. Is that right, Georgia?
Yeah, that's right. I have some questions for both Simone and Kave, so we can start with those ones if you like, and then we can wait to see if you have any other questions. Okay, cool. So the first one is for Kave. So interesting. Great to see both the front end and what you've been able to develop in 4 days with the help of Niels, and then with being able to see how you've built it in the back end as well, and how simple it was on both fronts. I'm not a technical person myself. I run a marketing agency, but I've built my site on Squarespace. You know, Zandra and I have developed No Code Lab because it was something that we just saw that needed to be done. And both of your examples are absolutely perfect in illustrating why there is a need for no code. But what I wanted to know, Kave, what's next? What's the plan? You've got your MVP. Are you going to re-platform? Are you going to stick with Ninox? Are you going to go out and just sell this out to the world? What does the next 12 months look like?
I think I will sit with Ninox. I think it's been great, really great 4 days, and I would love more 4 days like this in my life. So I will sit around with Ninox really and see what we can come up with. I think the good thing is, yeah, is we already kind of started building something that became really hard, and we can just take those ideas and simplify them and take out the MVP, which is really what we want to do in the next 6 months or 3 months.
Awesome. I'm really excited to see where that's going to come. Maybe we'll pick up back up with you in a year's time, and you'll have taken over LinkedIn as the primary site for job searches in Europe. Really looking forward to seeing what happens. Simone, sorry, did you want to say something, Sandra? Simone, a question that I had for you personally was kind of around, it's a really, really broad question. Don't feel like you have to have an all-encompassing answer on your feet today, but it was just about how technology is being adopted by the NHS, and what other elements that you think that could be so easily, rapidly digitalized, or something that you could use something like a no-code platform like Ninox. What's the low-hanging fruit that you think, do you know what, there's a problem there that could be sorted straight away, other than obviously what you've been working on yourself?
Okay, that wasn't an easy question. That's not an easy question.
Sorry, I did say it was broad. We don't expect an MP answer from you here.
Well, in a weird way, I suppose this is about a million answers actually, in terms of what the bit that's tricky is what's the low hanging fruit. I don't know that there's any low hanging fruit, unfortunately, but I think certainly having. So one of the things that I'm doing with the Linux database that I'm developing with Niels is knowing where you are in the system. So knowing who's in your system and where they are in the system is something that we're completely blind to. So having some idea of your cohort of people that you care for, and then, as I say, the more rich data on how they are, is something that is a quick win if you've got a unifying system. And as I explained before, we don't have that. In terms of functionality of Linux, I mean, one of the things that I could see straight away that you could use, and I haven't used yet, is that it has a map, using maps for healthcare. So I think there are people who are doing a bit of this, but there's many ways in which you could use that. One is knowing who's had a stroke near you, for me, so for my cohort particularly, but if you could actually, or just knowing what type of strokes are prevalent in what area. So you can just simply having postcodes and having the map function would allow you to quickly see that, and that is that would be incredibly powerful from a clinical point of view, and as I say, from a isolation and contact point of view. If you know that there's 10 people around you that have had a stroke, you may feel less alone and more likely to go out and meet the people that are out there to support each other. So that's with two things. With one functionality that you have.
Great. We do actually have some questions in on the chat as well. One is from Ken Gilgreen, and he wonders if anyone can comment on the security aspects of no-code options. And I probably would like to hand that over to you guys at Ninox to give a bit of a comment on the security around no-code.
Yeah. So I just jump in. Maybe first to say security obviously is a very, very broad topic with a lot of different areas that are relevant here. One of the key areas, obviously, for us being Berlin based, under EU regulation is GDPR and data security. The good thing with a solution like Ninox, or with Ninox in particular, is that we have the option to create kind of like a private space where only your database is, where nobody else can access. So this kind of allows you to be really sure of data security and really be able to say, okay, I have control over the data, and I also can guarantee that only I or only people who are who should be able to can access data. Another part of it is obviously less from a maybe security perspective of outside threats, but more of a on perspective of user management. The whole topic of access rights. I think this is also something where no code really helps simplify. Ninox, for example, has a good access management system with custom roles and really an approach where I can just click and say, okay, my role should be able to access this, and this role should be able to access this. As access management is one of the topics that traditionally is really hard and really prone to error, because obviously if you don't have the right access management, especially the more people you have involved, kind of bad things can happen. So kind of from a data and access management perspective here, I think no code really helps simplify, and also there is a kind of knowledge in the space, I think, where everybody knows it's important and works towards really being able to provide good tool set and functionality in that regard.
Yeah, I would agree with that from Niels.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to ask you, Morris, is it something that you asked about quite often when someone starts to look at your platform? Is it something that you get quizzed on quite often?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a hot button topic throughout the industry, especially in Europe right now, and really because we work with such a wide range of customers, spanning from the startup founder to large enterprises and organizations. And as Niels was mentioning, yeah, we do a great job with user management and roles and things like that. We also offer on-premise hosted data for our enterprise clients. So the Ninox really is a scalable solution that can be taken up to the highest level. If you want to host on-premise, you can host on-premise. As Niels talked about, we have a private cloud solution that offers the highest level of security, through our data vendors, such as Amazon AWS. So it's absolutely a matter of you can build a solution using no code that adheres to all the regulations that you would need to. We have customers who are building things for the healthcare industry, obviously, which is one of the most highly regulated industries that there is. We have customers who are building things for the finance and banking industries. So it is a question of, is the responsibility at the solution level? Yes, absolutely. But you can certainly build solutions with no-code tools like Ninox that adhere to all regulations, depending on your locality.
Yeah, and I guess when you have really heavily regulated industries such as healthcare, using the platform, you kind of like, well, if these guys can do it, if the NHS can do it, and they've so stringent about the types of data that those guys hold, anyone can do it, in the UK or across the world. There's actually someone asking here about compliance. They're in the US, Morris, and I hope that maybe you might be able to answer. They ask if Ninox is HIPAA compliant, HIPPA. I'm not familiar with that term, so I wondered if you knew anything about that.
Yeah. I actually used to work in healthcare investment banking, so I'm very familiar with HIPAA compliance. And I would answer again. It's absolutely possible to build a solution that is HIPAA compliant using the Ninox platform. Ultimately, the responsibility for HIPAA compliance lies at the solution level. So at the solution that you create, we absolutely can give you the tools to create a solution that adheres to HIPAA regulations. But it's at the responsibility of the solution level, and we have a wide network of Ninox solution partners working in the United States as well, who can assist people working in highly regulated industries to make sure that they're adhering to all those guidelines. So I would say if that's something that you're looking to develop for the healthcare industry, I'm happy to drop my information, and I can connect you to partners who are building things in the United States which are HIPAA compliant on the Ninox platform. By the way, guys, what is the best way for us to share some links during this event?
You can add to the question. I don't think that there's a chat. Sorry, there's a chat function in your bar. You can add anything into there. Also, the whole session is going to be recorded, and we'll do a write up on the No Code Lab website, where we'll have various other links and resources and anything else that we've talked about today. There was someone who asked about the abbreviation MVP, and I think that maybe it's more of a British or American thing to say MVP. What I mean is minimum viable product, something that you're able to easily take to market, or it's something that you easily be able to show working, an example of what you're trying to achieve. A lot of the time it's something that would potentially be taken to investment, just to sort of prove out, it's like a proof of concept. So that was that question. There's also about how do you handle change control? Is that something that you know about? Neil, can I pass that one over to you?
Yeah.
I handle MVP. That's as far as I know. I'll pass the rest to you.
But honestly, that sounds like when the answer of MVP was so good, I was like, okay, you're gonna do the rest of the questions. And to answer the question, so obviously, kind of versioning and change is something, especially in an enterprise context, which is very important. There is for Ninox, for example, a tool that implements, similar to GitHub for people who are familiar, a staging system. So this is a way of doing it, and also obviously very important backup functionality that we have, where if you kind of building maybe no solution on an enterprise level, or you just want to stay with the native Ninox features, usually with versioning, there's automatic backups, there's manual backups, where you can then kind of create different stages of your database with the data in the different stages as well, to be able to just jump back. Right? If I change something and I notice, this change maybe didn't work out quite the way I intended to, I can just jump back at the previous working version and kind of stuffs. Everything's fine. Obviously, one of the most, or one of the more important features in a database context, because obviously the last thing you want is lose your data, or kind of bungle up your structure in some random way where you can't really access it in the way you want to, or breaks other integrations or any stuff like that. So really having that backup functionality, I would say, as a normal user, is the best way to ensure a good data consistency and data security.
Okay, great. That's all the questions that are in our Q&A. I don't know if you had any of your own as well, Sandra, that you wanted to quiz the panel with.
I'm kind of intrigued how many people on the call or that are listening are considering doing similar things to Kave and Simone. I can imagine taking that first step to, like you say, Kave, believe that this is something you can do, and as Simone said, actually realise that other people that have spent £750,000 and many years have not been able to do in a few hours. What made you first look, Simone, and think, actually, I reckon there might be something out there that could do this? What triggered that? And as well, Kave, the same for you. How what made you have that moment? Because I imagine a lot of people wouldn't even consider having a go. So there must have been something. Was it frustration, or was it just a belief that there must be a solution out there? Simone, and maybe we start with you.
Complete and utter frustration and realization that everything was going to kind of come collapsing down around my ears if I didn't find something. And I mean, as I mentioned, I looked at lots of different solutions, and there are a lot of really complicated solutions out there that solutions is actually the wrong word. When I found Linux, there was this moment of breathing and thinking, oh, thank goodness. I think frustration, I think, is definitely the thing that kind of pushes you to work it out. And And as I mentioned, that massive gap that actually exists, people just don't really realise how little we or how much you can do and how little we know how to do things. So,
what did you type into Google? I'm kind of interested. Did you hear? I mean, was no code even something you typed in? What did you type in when you were looking for something?
I didn't type in. I had never heard of no code, so it's quite amazing to be in no code here.
What does that mean? What did you type into Google? Because if it wasn't no code, you must have found Ninox somehow. How did you find them?
I read a million trillion reviews of project management tools and this tool and that tool, and people talking about. I just went into multiple. To be honest, it took probably 3 months of looking and then, trying to mature that, speak to people, hear what they have to say about what they were offering, listen to the costs that they wanted for it. I mean, and so, it wasn't easy actually. And what I found as well, so there were a few that I thought were right, and then when I actually started to really look, all of a sudden you start to realise that the functionality's not there, the security's not there, but so it was very hard. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't.
Yeah, and Kave obviously.
Sorry, go on. Here, though, right? So I was just saying, I think that kind of speaks to why we're all here, because most people are not coming looking for a no-code platform. They don't know what it is. That's why we want to accelerate this movement. Most people, most of our customers are finding Ninox because they're looking to solve a problem. It's usually something very specific, which is why it's so great to hear all these stories all the time and work with all these founders and business professionals, because people are coming to Ninox because they are fed up, because they are looking for a different way to work. They're looking to solve a problem, and that's when they fall into this whole and go down the rabbit hole of what is no code, realizing what is possible, and for us, it's all about getting people to that point, like Simone got to, this light bulb moment when it comes on and they realize that they can do this by themselves, that they can build things and push them out to their team that are going to streamline their workflows, that are going to allow them to do things much more quickly than they have in the past. So for us, it's about education around what's available with these tools, the way that they can all work together, and getting people to that aha moment to realize everyone can be a builder. Everyone can be a creator now. The barriers to entry are gone. The gloves are off. Anybody who has an idea can bring it to life and enable it with technology using no-code tools like Ninox.
Thanks, Maurice. And it was interesting because Kave, you sort of met Maurice, and Maurice said, "Hey, there's another way to do this." But it sounds like you're a similar place to Simone. It was sort of born out of frustration from not really getting anywhere with, a lot of time. But it sounds like yours is as much time that was being invested as anything else.
Absolutely. I was so frustrated. And to some degree, I was like, okay, if this doesn't happen by summer, maybe it was not meant to happen, and I should just forget this idea. And so I'm so fortunate to be in a network and community where I have people who know about no code. And I think I will just encourage people to continue networking and just find out who's around you actually knows, or talk about the problem that you want to solve, and then kind of hear what type of solutions are they that are easier for you, that are not going to break your wallet at the same time. But yes, it was really that frustration, and I'm so glad it's minimizing right now.
And it is kind of really frustrating just how much has been spent on building tools and every line of code from the ground up. Yeah. Actually doing the same thing over and over again. And it's such a waste of energy and time and resource and budgets, and often in organisations which perhaps, whether it's a startup, Simone, or whether it's the NHS, Simone, or a startup, Kave, it's the fact that these are not organisations that really want to be spending money on writing every line of code. So it's amazing that it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to think about founders of color or female founders, this is one of the things that really takes them out of the market, because we don't have as much capital as, as male teams or male founders come with. And so when you come face to face with how huge this platform of this solution you want to build is going to cost you, then you basically just back off a little bit and say, okay, I don't have that money. I don't know where to raise it, and you kind of like really give up really quickly because you just don't have the capacity. So I see this as a space where that could really encourage a lot of female founders, a lot of minority founders who don't have the financial capacity to build robust, solutions that required hard code, per se. So I think there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome point, Kave. Something that we put into the foundations of the community that we've built is no code's ability to bridge the digital skills gap, but also the diversity challenges in the technology industry. I mean, 17% of developers of technical roles are women, and that's flatlined for 10 years. That's made, we've not really made any impact at all. I think no code can really disrupt that. It can also narrow the skills gap, but absolutely down to kind of investment, capital, access to funds to be able to start projects. We really are kind of leveling the playing field for everybody to be able to participate in digital innovation, which I think no code can be a really huge part of. And I think that's exciting from my point of view, because it's not just about solving problems quickly. I think it's the ability for everyone to solve problems quickly and what that might mean for the types of innovation that happen, because everybody can do it, right? So we're probably solving more problems that don't get attention because perhaps the people that are building them in the past didn't represent everybody in society. So now we're going to be building solutions that everybody in society can build. So therefore we'll have better solutions that are fit for everyone, which is just so exciting. It's just such a huge potential. I believe there was a question for Simone. Is that right?
There is one more, Simone, and hopefully it's not a hard one for you. It's not as hard as the one that I came up with, I hope. So there's another NHS worker on the call. They're an orthopedic surgeon. And they wonder, how did you get around the data protection issues, and if it's being hosted on a trust service?
Interesting question, actually, because and the answer might be a bit surprising for the person in the NHS. I thought that, so I could see that there were the layers of security that you could get, and I thought when I went to my IG people that they would say, I have to have a server on site, privately managed, and I could have got that through Ninox because they do offer that service. But they didn't say that. They actually said to me, no, we promote cloud use, because cloud is now, after we, and the person on the call will know about this, we were hacked back in, I think it was 2 years ago. And it was recognised that in the NHS, one of the reasons why that was possible was because we weren't updating and keeping all of our security levels at the right standard for anything that was kind of internal. And so we did a complete 360 on how we saw security and cloud. So I was told by my IG that they promoted the use of cloud. Our system is held in the private facility that Ninox has, so they're not in the public bit. We have our own private cloud, but yeah, it's actually, it's not, it's as I say, it surprised me, but it did actually change, and the whole outlook is completely different now. And I'm at University College Hospital. We actually have our main EHRS system is cloud-based, so we now have, so it's come completely, into the sort of healthcare sphere that cloud is good.
That's super refreshing to hear, as a UK native, and how much we really rely on and care about our NHS, and how that's been amplified so much over the last 12 months. The digitalization of the NHS to me is really important. The safety of data is really important. So it's really interesting to hear about the migration to cloud and how that's being taken seriously, and how data protection has been taken really seriously as well. But you've been given the the free range to go and build something like this without having to deal with lots of red tape, I think is fascinating to hear about. I think that we are going to have to wrap up for this time, Sandra. We have had our extra half hour. Yeah. Was there anything else from anyone that that you wanted to jump in and say?
I would just like to, I noticed I tried to drop something in the chat. I would just like to drop, a link to a 30-day free trial of Ninox and a link to our webinar page. We do a really great job with education on our no-code tool. We have webinars going every single day for people who want to dive in, who want to learn more, want to understand about what's possible to build, how to use a relational database and have it be the backbone of their organization. So feel free to join our webinars anytime. They're always going on. We want people to get involved, ask questions. It looks like I shared that, but it's did that go out to just organizers, guys? Oh, there it goes.
I shared it again.
Perfect.
To everyone.
Thank you so much, guys.
On our site as well. Okay, so if there's not anything from anyone else, obviously a huge thanks to everyone that's on the call today. I did say that it was going to be the most interesting no-code event that you'd ever been to, and it definitely was for me. So I can't vouch for everyone else, but it's so interesting. I really appreciate the guys at Ninox coming in, showing us what you can actually do with their platform, bringing in absolutely exemplary illustrations in both Simone and Kave and what they're able to do. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do next, and who else you could potentially bring to our forum as well. Just examples of what can be done purely about like that democratization of technology and data. It's really heartwarming, if nothing else. So thank you to everyone who's on the panel today, and obviously to my partner in crime, Sandra Moore. Thank you to everyone who has attended the event as well. I know we had a bit of a time change last minute, so I really appreciate that everyone's been able to stay this late as well. So especially if you're not in the UK time zone. We will be holding more webinars, more events, more content has always been added to our social media platforms as well as on-site content. This has been recorded. It will go out to everyone who's signed up to this event as well as the rest of our email list, as well as the write-up that will be hosted on the No Code Lab website, as well as those resources that Morris has popped into the chat there as well. So just thank you to everyone, and I hope that you've enjoyed this, you found it insightful, and that you have a great night.